everyone. Shubho Shokal. It's my great pleasure to have with me this morning Manisha Koirala. We'll be talking today about her upcoming book, Healed. This is her first book. I don't think she needs any introduction. She is one of the top Indian Bollywood film actresses, and in the 90s her films were among the top commercial successes in the Indian film industry. She's widely critically acclaimed as well as her huge commercial successes that she's had. But today we're going to explore not only that side of her amazing body of work and history, but also the reason why she felt compelled to tell a story and write this wonderful book, which will be available in January 2019. So Manisha, welcome to Dhaka. We had a chat yesterday, but it's really, our honor that this is the first literary festival that Manisha is attending with her new book. And so we're extremely honored to have her here to, I think this book is extraordinary because, we've all seen her on the screen, and we will get to, I think, hear a different side of her journey. So Manisha, I wanted to sort of trace back, your extraordinary career and kind of set up a backdrop of how you came to write the book. You come from an extremely prominent family in Nepal, but when you went to Bollywood, when you first started, you didn't have the same patronage or support that many of the other actors did. So, I believe that, you had to sort of make your own way. Perhaps you could sort of tell us something about that.
Namaskar. Good morning to all of you. And yes, it is my first literature fest, and I feel really deeply in gratitude that DHAKA Literature Festival decided to invite me, and I couldn't present my book now because it's still in the process of publishing, and it'll come towards the end of the year, early January. But I hope to show you at least the book cover. Thank you, Sada, for having me. Thank you. To answer your question, you said, was it difficult for me initially because I came from a different place? I was an outsider. I guess I did. I mean, it is a tough world out there. It is. I was just out of school when I entered movies, and I didn't know anything of the outside world. I was in school. School and home and friends is all that I knew. And to get into the real world of work and meeting professional people and working hours and competition, and those days, yellow journalism and everything. So it was a lot of struggle. But that's the past now, and been through it all, and I'm here. It's been 30 years.
Perhaps, you could tell us a bit about the kind of things that you had to face when you first went to Bollywood and you first, started to work there.
I guess I was very, very nervous. I used to hide behind book to pretend I'm reading. Actually, I was just wanting to be away from everybody and away from gazes and away from being at the center stage of people noticing me. I just quietly wanted to do my work and just go home. So, for me, I had a great launching pad. Subhash Ghai had launched me and Vivek Mushram at the same time. We got a huge amount of training in terms of long hours of classical dancing and horse riding and dialogue. I mean, the first few years, 1 year at least, was into training. And not only training about acting and how to be an actress, but also what should be the public persona. Because I was from school, and I used to wear torn jeans and shirts and t-shirt, and that was totally tabooed. They said, no, you are establishing to be a star, you can't be seen in a torn jeans. And so things like that. I mean, we were all taught and groomed to be an actor, and all I knew was there is no substitute to hard work. There is, because everybody was actually was working very hard. We actors are very privileged because we come on the set, we get ready and we perform. But actually people who are behind the camera are working much harder than us. And so I was a very sensitive person, very observant person, and I had noticed that, the light boys, the lightmen, the cameramen, the directors, everybody was on the set much before us and were working on the film. Seeing all that aspect, seeing the producers' stake, they put in so much, a huge amount of money and all that, seeing that side actually humbled me, actually made me really respect the profession and respect how much of hard work it takes. It all looks glossy and it's a matter of 3 hours for the viewers, and but a lot of sweat, a lot of money, a lot of effort goes into making a film. So I witnessed all that, and actually that inspired me to work harder. And so I kind of worked. There were conditions, I have to say. There were times when you're beginning of your career and you don't have much of a voice and you're there to establish yourself as an actor. One has to work harder, and I did that in terms of, I was shooting once in Rajasthan, and it was winter. And I had to do a rain song, and I mean, after the first, that 2-night rain song, I had fever. I mean, next day I was sick, but I saw other people falling sick and they were working, and I said, okay, I'm not going to stop. So next day, even though I had high temperature, I had high fever, and it was cold, and we were doing rain sequence. So I went. And actually, when you see this song, you can't even figure out that actually, I was very, very sick. So like that, physical. So I learned very early on in my career that certain sacrifices, in the sense that of physical discomfort, was asked. Sometimes you're shooting in Switzerland, in Alps, and we fall sick, and the whole unit is there. Does that mean I get to rest? No, I have to perform, because there's only short time that we are there. And I can tell you many incidences, Adaf, where, but I feel human beings have very strong connection with our mind. If we have a stronger mind, we can really fizzle out and drop. I've been into that space as well, where I have been broken with a small thing. But I have been through a very tough time, and just because I had a strong will, I have come out. So I feel there's a strong connection between mind and body, and how much you can endure and how much you can take.
I mean, you've done an incredible body of work. I mean, you've done over 80 films. When you, I mean, incredible, right?
Thank you.
How did you deal with success? Were you surprised by it? How did you deal with fame?
You know, when it happens to you, you can't differentiate, you can't be objective. Sad part is that. But luckily for me, I've been through so much of a roller coaster. Today I can analyze and probably tell you that initially, for any person who's an outsider, to come into, it's very overwhelming industry. And the fact that you're constantly on media gaze all the time, you know, what you're doing, what you're not doing, and those earlier days, it was pretty more rough, I would say. So it took a while for me to adjust to that. I think it's just a part and parcel of work-related things, and luckily for me, I had great companions, great company of friends and well-wishers who kind of told me, Manisha, focus on to the main thing, to not get carried away with the fluffy stuff, you know. So,
and so, do you feel you were, when you were at the height of your commercial success, you know, blockbusters, everybody wants to know you. So, did you feel centered then, or how did you deal with that?
No, I initially enjoyed every bit. But when anything, I was workaholic. I really worked 18 hours sometimes, and so there came a time where I started losing interest, and it's there in my book. Briefly, I have mentioned that the stagnation point actually was the point where I started falling down.
So tell me a bit about that. I mean, we're going to talk about the life-changing event that happened a bit later, but you know, from this position of you know, you're on the top world, a lot of success, and then, as you said, things started changing.
Things changed actually. Because I started getting tired of my routine, and it was like get up, put on makeup, act, come back, shower, sleep. I mean, it was just a certain mechanical routine that I got into, because I was doing 12, 13 films a year. I was working in 3 films at a time, and that means from 7 in the morning sometimes till 2 in the night. And at different parts of Mumbai, and you know the Mumbai traffics are pretty bad. And so, I guess the joy of performing and joy of being part of cinema and that whole excitement, the initial excitement, and I wanted to conquer the world, I wanted to be known and loved, and I wanted to really establish myself. I have to remind you that when I entered Bollywood, my family didn't really agree, because I came from a political family. And it was only my grandmother, from my father's mom. She actually told me that even if you want to be a grass cutter, Mali, you make sure that you become the best. And it doesn't matter what profession you choose, just make sure that you're the best in that. So I was driven by that, and I really wanted to prove and work hard and be amongst the best. After achieving that stage, then slowly that whole, you know, as I said, because it just went on repertoire of same thing again and again, I started to lose it all.
So, but at that time you were also exploring working with independent younger directors and projects.
No, that actually very early on in my career, I got to work with Mani Ratnam, and I got to work with Mansoor Khan, and Sanjay Bansali. So it all happened one by one very soon for me. And I think it was much later, after 10, 12 years of doing the same thing, that's when I started making wrong choices of films and stuff like that.
So how were you making your choices then? Is it because you were sort of, they were coming to you, you felt you couldn't say no, or when you're in that sort of chakkar of that, you know?
Yeah, actually sometimes without really knowing I've taken wrong decisions, and things have backfired, you know, and I would say, oh fine, it's just one movie, I can always get another movie and I can always bounce back. But what happens is a certain amount, there is some kind of a circle thing which keeps on happening, and one wrong decision leads to another wrong decision and stuff like that. So I kept on choosing wrong film for some time, really not knowing, and that's it. And it reflected on people not liking my work.
And so, you know, when the point that you sort of start the book is when you found out that you had cancer. I would like to ask you to read a bit, maybe from that first bit.
Okay. December 2012. Death was staring at me. Was I going to be just another statistic? I don't want to die. I sobbed out to the pristine white ceiling. The blank ceiling just stared back at me. Yet again my heart became a fierce battleground of death and life, optimism and despair. The endless tug of war kept playing out in my mind. You, Manisha, are going to live through this, hope reassured me. But you are BRCA1 positive, stage 3 ovarian cancer. Death hissed back. There is a 44% survival rate in such cases. Hope soothed me. There is a 56% chances you're going to die. Death cheered back. I shut my eyes to let the voices fade away. It was comforting to sink into nothingness. I didn't know when and how much time had passed, but when I woke up, my mouth was dry. I sensed that I was in a different room. It appeared to be neither the operation nor the recovery room. My heart missed a beat. Was I still in the hospital? Had I made it? I looked up wearily. I saw my mother walk in.
Thank you. Thank you. Perhaps you could just share with us how you led up to finding out about the fact that you had this cancer in you.
So, when I got cancer, I was at the rock bottom of my life. My work had suffered a great deal, and then I got married. That hadn't worked, and so I was actually quite depressed, sad, and I had no clue that cancer was growing in my stomach. It's just that there were signs and symptoms, but I didn't know how to understand them. And it was actually, my stomach had protruded like huge, and I was in Nepal. From Mumbai I had gone to Nepal, and in Nepal when it was unbearable pain, because I was having, for 3 months, there were discomfort, there was, you know, the body had gone through changes and lethargy and stuff like that, but I didn't know how to read all that into a cancer diagnosis. So it was only when I started having unbearable pain and my stomach became really huge, that's when I went to the hospital, and that's where it was discovered that I had late stage cancer. And not only that, the cancer had spread to various parts, and the operation would have to be extremely complicated one. So we rushed to Mumbai, and
I just interrupt you there. I mean, you write a beautiful bit in your book about your family gathering round, and you'd gone to the hospital not knowing exactly what was wrong with you, and the doctor was not telling you the results, and one by one all your family members come before they share the results with you.
Yeah, it was actually a strange day, because I kept on waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, because I was very anxious to know what was wrong with me, and nobody was telling me at the hospital, and I kept on asking when the doctor's gonna come, when the doctor's gonna come. The nurses would say, oh, he's coming, he's waiting for the lab reports and blah, 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 and all that. So eventually, towards the end of the day, I had gone through the CT scan, and at the end of the day, when my family started coming into my hospital room, I was wondering why everyone was here. My parents, my brother, my uncle, my aunt, and everybody walked in. And I was constantly waiting and looking at everybody's faces and asking, what's going on? Why everybody is here? And finally the doctor came, and Dr. Madhugi Mire is a very renowned doctor in Kathmandu, and he came, and the way he broke the news to me was also quite unique, and I was actually staring at his face to understand what was wrong with me, and nobody's telling me anything. And I asked Doc, please, would somebody tell me what's wrong with me? Then he said, Manisha, there are treatment for these things nowadays. And I was thinking, treatment? Okay, what do I really have? And he hesitated for a while, and then he said, my dear, you have cancer. And then also I said, cancer? And in so many movies that we've seen, cancer, you just cut it off and throw it and you are fine. So I kind of said that to my doctor. I said, oh, if it's that, then why can't you just cut it and throw it? And that's when my aunt was a gynecologist in Nepal, and she said, what all to cut and throw, Manisha? It spread everywhere. And that's when it sunk. And actually it took me 24 hours to really register what had happened. And that night I think was the loneliest, and when everybody went, my parents were shaken up, everybody was shaken up, and we didn't know. And that night I was alone in the hospital after everybody left, and for the first time, fear of death hit me, and it's quite an unnerving situation, But I remember that as the loneliest night in my life. And next morning, family got together and decided the next course of action, what is best, and all that. Then all the practicalities seeped in, and how to go about it, what is the best place to go for. So some suggested I go to America, some suggested I go to Bangkok, some suggested I go to Mumbai, and all that confusion. And I've written in my book in detail all that.
And And of course the other, so facing death is obviously sort of the ultimate, but you had to sort of face a lot of things at that particular point, because you also had to face the fact that you would, if you did survive it, you'd never have children.
Yes, I always wanted to have a child. It's like being a woman, you want to make the best use of what the nature has given you. And I really wanted my child. And when I realized that it is an ovarian cancer and it has to be cut off and I'll never be a mother, and I mean, the whole thing kind of shook me, and I'm still coming in terms with the fact, and I wanted in between to adopt and move on with life. That decision I'm still pondering about. Yeah, but it's a big jolt to come in terms with the fact that I'll never be a mother, and make peace with that.
So the other thing is, but you do have a wonderful, loving family, and everybody giving their opinion about where to take you and how to deal with the cancer. Who is the main kind of decision maker in the family? Did you make the decision, or?
It's normally my mother, as she's the one who takes in charge whenever there is a crisis in the family, or me. And I was lying flat, so I was in no position to take in charge of anything. And but during that time, I think it was a collective decision, collective chaos, collective confusion. But we came to Mumbai, and in Mumbai, when I learned from my doctors that it was going to be very, very complicated surgery, and that's when I said, okay, if I have to die, I rather die giving myself the best treatment. And if that's my destiny, I'll have to just accept that. And my mother has few childhood friends from Banaras days in New York, and they all are like in big hospital as doctors. Some of my friends have their relatives and friends who are doctors, and that's when we all kind of collectively decided to go to New York and get myself treated and operated there.
And how did you get through that time with the fear, but at the same time, this drive and this love for life that I can see in you?
Yes, now you can see. But those days it was really horrifying, because I think facing death, getting cancer diagnosis, and it's really the most unsettling space. And it took a long time, because I feel every cancer patient who've been diagnosed with cancer will really understand and relate that there is forever, you have to wait. That's why in my book I've used this word called intizar, because it's like the constant term for us. You get diagnosed, then you wait for the operation to be successful. After the operation is successful, then you wait for the treatment to be successful. Now the treatment is so long, normally 6 months, and I mean, every time I would be asking my doctor, after the operation I asked my doctor, doctor, will I live now? And he would say, Manisha, I can't tell you till I see how well you do in your chemotherapy. So, Lord, okay. So I started doing chemo. And during the process of chemo, I would say, Doc, will I survive now? Will I live now? He said, we have to wait and see more. Keep on waiting. And even after my chemotherapy went off successfully, and I was cancer-free medically, but still the doctor said we have to wait for 3 years because within 3 years' time you have 90% of relapse, chances for relapse. So again, wait for 3 years to pass. And then after 3 years, I said, now doctor, can I live? Do you think I will live for a longer time? And he said, you know, Manisha, there is no, I can't tell you with guarantee because you were diagnosed with late stage cancer. And that's when I gave up. I said, I'm going to live now because I don't know how long I'm going to live. I don't know whether it's going to be long life or it's going to be short life or it's going to relapse or it's not going to relapse. I've been waiting at every step. How long can I wait? My whole life will go in waiting. So
you know, this thing that, you know, you never think it's going to happen to you, and then it did happen to you. And, you know, we always joke, oh, if I have... You never thought that?
No, because I didn't want to think that. I didn't want to think that I had only a few months to live. I wanted to give my all, and I wanted to stay positive, and I wanted to really train myself to believe that in fact, my belief that I'll be fine one day was amusing for my doctors at time, because you know, after I got cancer free, so I went to the doctor and I said, Doc, look at my CA-125 marker, my cancer marker, it's so low. You know, you think I can live now for 25 years? He just looked at me and smiled, you know. She has this unstoppable love for life and, you know, wanting to live and wanting to... So, I guess I really wanted to get a second chance to life. So I wouldn't think about, oh, I'm going to die now.
And what were some of the most toughest times to get through them, though? I mean, in the treatment, in the operation, what was the toughest thing?
Not knowing whether whatever I'm doing is working or not. That part is tough. And it's like a dagger over your head. You don't know when it's going to fall, whether it's going to fall or it's not going to fall. That's the toughest part of cancer treatment. You know.
I'd like you to maybe read some more from the chapter, I think, towards the end of your book.
So it's midway. So has cancer changed me? Yes. If I was a weak tree earlier, ready to topple at the first strong breeze that blew at me, I'm now a deep-rooted banyan. I have branched out in many directions, expressing the multifaceted sides of me. I have changed from the inside, and so has my world. I'm reading a very small portion here so that you guys get to read my book.
So, you know, tell us a bit about that. I mean, having gone through all of this, how has it changed you?
I think any situation in our lives is there to teach us a lesson. This is how I see life. And to me, cancer came as a teacher. And I'm actually deeply grateful for cancer because it shook me so strong that I started valuing life much more than I did before. It's made me tougher, it's made me more open, it's made me more grateful, and it's a mixture of everything, of being soft at the same time being tough. You know, so my work, I'll be slightly more exemplary. Like in terms of my relationships earlier on, I wouldn't really give so much of attention to my friendship or relationship. I would have entourage of people and floating and all that. Now it's deep-rooted bonds that I look forward for. Spend quality time with my family. My work as well. I work with, now my whole thing is focused about am I going to be proud of this work? Will I be remembered after doing this movie after 20, 30, 40 years? Will I really enjoy making this movie? Will I be proud of this? Do I enjoy this process? So my whole focus has become slightly more internal, slightly more concrete, slightly more now, you know, centered. And I see life as the most joyous process. It has its tough place. It has you know, I mean, it throws you many challenges all the time, and there's a lot of turmoil one goes through. But I don't get engulfed with those small problems anymore. You know, I have the larger picture. And somewhere during the process of this cancer, I started, because I kept on, my doctors couldn't tell me for sure that I'll be fine and I could live now for 25 years or not. That also made me, okay, if that is what it is, I want to understand the process of death. So I made peace with my death. I made peace in the sense, I started understanding the process of death, what it is. What is not acceptable to me is dying in fear, you know, So I started basically to understand, I started reading books, many books about all these things and spirituality and basically having a bird's eye view about life rather than worm's eye view, you know, and just seeing the magic and the beauty and be grateful for the life and, you know, whatever life is gifting me, I take it with a lot of love and gratitude.
And then the process of, you know, wanting to write a book. How did you?
Okay, there is a bit of a story there. Bear with me. During my cancer treatment, there were multiple things. There weren't too many people who came forward who I expected to be there for me, weren't there. There was not enough material on positive stories. Mostly, if you Google, it was all sad stories. And so actually my doctors had told me not to Google and not to find out. But there not too many positive and inspiring stories, not too many people comforting me. And there were few people who actually walked into my life who were like angels, who I did not even know before my diagnosis and were there throughout to support me. So that's when I realized, you know, there are good people in this world and there are positive stories. But then I started looking out for more positive stories. So I just started discovering more and more people who've come out of cancer or any kind of dreaded disease, and they're leading healthier and happier lives. So I felt compelled to share my story so that it can help other people in their times of crisis. And also, it's a thank you note to all those who walked into my life like an angel and supported me and helped me. And to say that, you know, if life takes some aspects from you that you're expecting, but life also surprises you with some amazing things which you least expect when you least expect it. So life is full of positive stories, you know. We need an eye to recognize that. We need to have an open heart to see that.
Well, thank you so much, Manisha, for sharing your journey with us today. I would like to go for some question answers, I think. So, on a bit more positive note from Manisha. Can we have a bit of the lights? Yeah. Okay, that's...
Hi, Manisha.
Hello.
And you're looking absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask you that, first of all, congratulate you for your recent humongous hits and June and Love Stories. And you played the part of Nargis Ji. And you yourself being a cancer survivor, how difficult it was to go through all that trauma, because while you were like, taking your prep for the role, you must have had those bitter memories and all that.
It was, honestly speaking, not something I was prepared to relive that moment and feel the pain once again, feel the fear once again. I was actually not prepared for. But then I didn't want to let go the opportunity of playing Nargis Ji, you know. So, and also when I met the director and everybody of the team, I just fell in love with them and I said, no, I need to be part of this process of making this film. But it was a tough choice.
Yeah. Somebody get the mic there.
Thank you. Namaskar. Manisha Koirala ji.
Namaskar.
I have a question that I watched your Tamil films starring Dhanush. Dhanush is my favorite actor in Tamil industry. There, I can't remember the film's name, some Tamil word. There, your role was like a villain and a villain mother-in-law. So, in 90s, you acted as a very charming girl in 1942 Love Story, Bombay. Then, what's your feeling about the transition in this heroine to a mother-in-law and typical 80s Bollywood films mother-in-law villain who try to bridge between the hero and heroine? And your contemporary worker, Amir Khan, he recently worked as a hero in Thugs of Hindustan. Then, but you, a few years ago, sorry, a lot of years ago, that Amir film released, and you did your role as a mother-in-law, and Amir did as a hero.
I think the question, I understood the question. Thank you. So basically, that movie, I think I did it in 2011, 2009, something, 9, 10, 11, something. And I think as an actor, per se, we need to explore different characters. We can't be stuck doing same stuff again and again. It's very stagnating. So if though I do wish it was a better film and you know, slightly I had portrayed better rather than acting like an 80s movie. So, rightly said. But as an actor, one wants to reach out and do many different types of roles. Sometimes positive, sometimes negative, because you know we are telling stories about life. You know, cinema depicts life, so it's okay to portray a part of life, a slice of life.
Yeah.
Hi, hello, Manisha. So, you know, during your moments of, you know, intizar and uncertainties, I was wondering, what were the self-affirmations you told yourself that made you go through those times? Or maybe people from your families might have told you. So if there is...
Yeah, actually, it's there in detail, everything in my book, but I will share that. I was researching heavily on who are the people who survive the deadliest of times and deadliest of diseases. So I stumbled upon this thing called mind, body, spirit, and how it's interconnected and intertwined. And what you tell your mind actually, and if mind really believes it, it can start helping the healing process. So I was actually so obsessed with healing that I would do these affirmations. I had, you know, Japamala. And Japamala, I was, instead of doing chanting, anything else, I was talking about being healed, and you know, I'm cancer free, and various things like that. And there is a very funny incident when I'm actually talking to my body and sending love and sending light, and you know, as if I was into visualizing that my cancer cells are all destroyed. So I tried everything.
It's my mother-in-law's birthday today. Okay, so to give an
Namaskar Mataji, and happy birthday to you.
A little autograph later on, of course.
The gentleman in the blue shirt there. Yeah. No, yeah. You should. And then we'll go up.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Welcome to Bangladesh.
Thank you.
Well, you have fought bravely with cancer, but there are still many more people who are still fighting with cancer. Any message for them?
Honestly, it's a really tough battle, and it's the battle is tough because it's more psychological, and the fear factor is so huge. And I just want to say there is hope. There is hope. Believe in healing. Believe in your doctors. You know, the medical science has really developed to a certain extent. I'm today standing here even after getting last stage of cancer diagnosis, and I'm hale and hearty, and I'm fine, and I'm cancer free. So I'm sure there's hope for everybody else as well.
Cancer free for 5 years?
6 years.
6 years. Can we go up there? Can we put the lights up? Up there? I can't see very well. উপরে যেতে চাচ্ছি একটু লাইট
Thank you, Manisha Koirala ji, for coming.
Just hang on a minute, can I just get somebody from up here? Yeah, the central person. Yeah. Just, if you don't have a mic, just yell.
My granduncle, my grandfather, my granduncles have been the Prime Minister. My father has been minister a couple of times. I'm an artist, and I want to remain that.
Somebody right at the back now. We did peach or hat. Yeah. Sorry, yes. Peach shalwar kameez. Yeah.
Hi Manisha ji, I'm one of your biggest fans.
Hello.
And it's an honor to see you here, and congratulations on your brave fight. My question is that you've played so many iconic characters, you've been in so many iconic movies. Which character do you relate to the most or is closest to your heart?
I think closest to my heart, I've never looked into it like that, because for me, portraying each and every character and portraying with believing in them was very important. So every character, especially the ones with good directors, is really close to me. But I loved the message that my film Bombay had to give. That, you know, coming together and not being divisive, and, you know, having space for the other and the respect for the other. And so I loved the philosophy of that film much more.
Okay, one more up there. The staff is, yeah.
Of course I do. What do you think what message did I send? Deaf and mute, don't say dumb. I didn't see it that way, but I'm glad you did, and I'm glad that you mentioned that. By nature, I'm a warrior, so by default, I'm a warrior, and it's not necessary that sometimes you're having war with the external world and people. It's sometimes with your inside, you know, your own demons, your own shortcomings. So one needs to win that, I believe.
I just wanted to ask you a bit about your, your social work and your engagement with the UN. It seems to me that you have a sort of deeper connection because there are a lot of celebrities that give their name to different causes. Perhaps you could tell us something a bit about your engagement.
Yeah, I mean, over the years, I've tried to do something meaningful besides doing my work, and so I feel passionately about protecting women and children, especially from violence within the family, or the prostitution, the Nepalese women crossover, and all that. I've been Goodwill Ambassador to UNFPA since 2000, and we worked again that time also for women and children, and in 2015 again UNFPA Nepal reappointed me as a Goodwill Ambassador, and yet again during the earthquake time, the weakest, the most vulnerable lot gets more attacked. People are busy about construction, rebuilding, and big things, and they forget the dignity of a woman or a child's vulnerability. In a shelter homes, going to the toilet, and they get attacked and abused and all that. So we worked, UNFPA Nepal and me, we worked together to how to minimize the abuse and how to safeguard them and how to support them. And so again, the safety and security of women and children, and also since I'm a cancer survivor, and so I feel it's something which comes to me is to give hope to the people who've been diagnosed with cancer. So I go around supporting very good and nice, good NGOs, because in today's time there's so many NGOs which keep on showing something else, but they're not reliable. So I make sure that whoever I lend my support to are credible NGOs, and I work with them around India and in Nepal to generate awareness primarily about healthy lifestyle, making healthier choices in life, and also about cancer and that right treatment, and that if you get diagnosed in early stages of cancer, the cure of this thing is much more. So I go around talking about that. So women, children, and health, these are three areas that I work, because that's where I feel pulled to contribute.
Okay, the gentleman in the, yes.
Welcome to Bangladesh, Manisha Koirala ji. My question is that you have passed a long perilous journey, one of the most toughest of life problem. And congratulations for recovering this. One of my friends also suffering on the first stage of cancer. He also recovered it. It's a very tough situation. Would you please give me some suggestion? You are, I know that who are actor and actress, they are very careful about their health and their
not necessarily, you know, actresses are more careful about the appearance. This is where I always say, external beauty and external this thing is you should take care of, but your internal health is what you really need to focus.
So what should be done?
I think she's answered. Thank you, thank you. One more question, I think. Yeah, the girl in the green, in the middle.
ছেলেটা বুঝলো না দাঁড়িয়ে থাকো
Hello Manisha.
Hello.
I just wanted to say that I love you so much. You're really awesome.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for the love, sweetheart.
So my question is, would you like to do something for the welfare of the people who are not financially able to deal with cancer treatment?
Yes. See, unfortunately, most of our part of the world have this issue, and the cancer treatments are so expensive. You know, I was lucky that I had the opportunity to get myself treatment and do all that. And in the process of trying to spread awareness, I met so many unfortunate people that it really breaks my heart. So whenever I go and meet people, whether it's government or non-government, and I keep on requesting, let's join hand, and because one person cannot do this, the problem is too huge, too big. And so we all need to be aware, and slowly with the government support, you know, we can bring about the changes, and dignified treatment can be provided to the poorest of poor. That is my dream, and that I don't know how much I can achieve or not, but I'm working towards that.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Manisha, we're coming to the end of our conversation here. Of course, I hope we'll have many more. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sada, for having me.
And I just want to sort of say, this is the cover of Manisha's book. It's coming out in January. Healed, How Cancer Gave Me a New Life. In fact, a deep thank you to Manisha, because, when we first started talking, I think her publishers were not very keen for her to come to a literary festival before her book was out. And, she went all out to make a special effort to come to DHAKA, so thank you for that.
Thank you. It's been utter pleasure to be here. Lovely gathering and such a wonderful crowd. Thank you for the love, and thank you for such a beautiful welcome.
Thank you, Manisha. Thank you. And the other very, very special thing is that even though the book is out in January, Manisha has kindly agreed to give anyone who books the book through us a signed copy when it comes out in January. So you can pre-book her book at DHAKA Lit Fest, and in January we will all get copies. Signed.
Thank you, Sada.
Thank you, Manisha. Thank you, everybody.